I'm really excited.
Good.
I'm excited because I grew up here in Texas and I'm seeing something. I'm seeing people awaken to the realization that these civil liberties that we thought were safe are coming under attack, and it's making people realize, if they hadn't before this, that elections have consequences and that we really need to start sending people that represent our values without looking at, partisan politics.
Hey guys, Kevin Nix here with MJ Hegar, Air Force veteran who is running for U.S. Senate. Welcome to The Signal.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You bet. So, we were just talking before we started about how it seems a little weird, at least to me, that John Cornyn has been in office for more than 30 years. And recent polling shows that he's not very well known. About 30% don't know much about him. What does that say to you about his candidacy and your opportunity?
I don't know. I think, we all have somebody that we've worked with that has kind of done the minimum and flown below the radar, and nobody in the office knew that they were there. I feel like that's kind of a little bit of what's going on when you don't have any innovative ideas and you're not out there fighting for Texans and you're just taking your marching orders by your party leadership and doing as you're told and not doing anything unexpected. Then I guess you can, have a career as a politician without ever running a really tough race, but nobody really knows who you are, and a lot of the people who do know who you are don't approve of the job that you're doing. I think that a lot of people want to talk about how if we couldn't beat Cruz, how are we going to beat Cornyn? And I just think that people forget that Senator Cruz won the presidential primary in Texas by over 17 points. And that, when we drove through the rural sections of my district during the congressional campaign last cycle, there were a lot of MJ Hegar, Ted Cruz signs in the same yard, which baffled us at first. But when we would go knock on that door, we would find out what we suspected, which was a lot of Texans are putting partisanship aside and they're not voting for the letter by your name. They're looking for character. They're looking for disruptors. They're looking for people who are going to go and fight for them. Not just say that they're going to fight for them, but that their actions have shown. So, for example, one of the things that I'm most proud of is that I took orders and did as I was told by the military for years until I came up against a policy that I realized was unconstitutional, was not good for the military. The Joint Chiefs unanimously agreed with me and recommended to the Secretary of Defense that he repeal the policy that I was trying to pull. And so we need more people who have shown a willingness to take on the establishment and to really fight for people and not get intimidated by the titles and the, polished mahogany and the brass nameplates and really just take people on and fight for their community.
In the same vein of sort of winning in Texas, right, next year, there are two schools of thought. One is you run down the middle and try to get Republican moderates and conservative Democrats. The other is to go a base strategy and really focus and turn out the base. Where are you? Which school of thought are you?
I think we throw the book out, frankly. I think that Texas, we don't have to pick, right? Texas, we don't register as Republicans and Democrats. So all that we know is the people who have self-identified in polling. It's about 30% Democrat, 40% Republican, 30% independent. That independent group, I don't think are moderates. I think that they're people who don't like the two-party system for the most part. I think that there are people who want to vote based on character. They want integrity. They want service. They want somebody who is in this for our values and for our kids, and who recognize things like Texas has the highest number of uninsured kids in the country. We have one of the highest maternal mortality rates. They want to see, bipartisan. It's not just working across the aisle. They want to see people who don't check in with their party leadership before they bring solutions to the table, but they check in with their constituents. I'm going to be checking in with Texans and saying, how do we fix the problems that our Texans are facing? That what is keeping us from putting food on the table? What is keeping us from being able to just take our kids to soccer and enjoy watching the soccer match? Those are the things that we're going to be finding solutions to, and we're going to be doing it through reaching out to the entire state.
So there will be at some point, so you will be appealing to all voters, not just focusing on the diehard progressive base.
We don't have enough Texas values being shown in DC right now. When we look at DC, no matter what state people come from, by and large, there's great people who are fighting hard, don't get me wrong, but by and large, the values we see reflected back from DC are, people in the pockets of special interests and corporate donors, and we don't see a lot of Texas values. Texas values toughness and fortitude and integrity and strength. And I believe that when the general election comes around, Texans are going to want to, grace the nation with the Texas toughness and the Texas values in a woman like me who's grown up in Texas, who can go there and really fight for people.
Healthcare. So I know it's a big issue for you.
It is a big issue for me.
Back when you ran, and then now it is again.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about your healthcare plan.
Yeah.
And sort of where Senator Cornyn is or isn't present in healthcare.
Yeah, it's hard to tell unless you just look at his actions, which is what I choose to do. He says that he wants to try to help protect pre-existing conditions, and I think that that's because that rhetoric polls well. I think he sees the same data that I see, that he's in big trouble. So he's starting to steal kind of like some of our talking points, which I think is funny if it wasn't so sad. Because millions of Texans are facing losing their healthcare coverage because of his actions and because of his vote and because of his lack of action in protecting us against the DOJ lawsuit that's fighting to say that protecting pre-existing conditions is unconstitutional. So when I hire somebody, and that's what this is Texans looking to see who they want to hire, I don't ask, what are you going to do? I ask, what have you done? And he doesn't have an answer to that question on what has he done to protect pre-existing conditions. There is a very dangerous pattern right now going on where there is a lot of repeal and a lot of withdraw from agreements and accords and repeal the Affordable Care Act with nothing better to replace it with. I think that, I worked in the healthcare industry for 5 years. I was pregnant with my first child when I was facing being laid off by my job in the healthcare industry. And that's a pre-existing condition, and I needed to be able to buy into Medicare. I also think that the inability to buy into Medicare, which is one of the best healthcare models, my mom had knee surgery on private insurance, and then she had to get a knee revision under Medicare, and she was terrified. That was the first big major expense she was going to have under Medicare, and it went so much better for her. The quality, the speed, she spent a lot less money, and she was really excited about that. And we see a lot of that when people have experiences with Medicare. So I think that, Texas is about small business and innovation and higher education and investing in people. And one of the things that keeps people from being able to quit their jobs and go back to school or start a small business or somehow invest in themselves is their reliance on their employer-provided health care. So I definitely am going to be supporting, people having the option to buy into Medicare. I will not ever support a model that comes across my desk that does not incentivize innovation, does not incentivize quality, which I would argue our current model still doesn't incentivize quality, positive health outcomes, but doesn't protect affordability. Those things have to all three happen for me to be able to support it.
So you would support people keeping their if they have private insurance to keep it?
Yes, I think that they should be able to keep private insurance. I don't think most people will choose to do that as this model grows and people realize how much better Medicare is. But I think people should have choice. They should be able to choose their doctor. That's one way we incentivize quality. When you take away choice, it takes away competition and it takes away the ability to incentivize quality and innovation. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you. I
Thanks.
appreciate it.
Take care.